Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. My name is Liaquat Zaman, and here in this video I'm going to be going over some books regarding biographies of companions, Sahaba. Now, those of you guys who know about the chains of narrations, it's very important to understand who is in the chain. And the Sahaba are very critical in regards to this, because depending on whether a person is a Sahabi or not will actually change the whole ruling of a hadith. If a person is not a Sahabi, then that would lead to a person having to be checked out, investigated, and if he is a Sahabi, then that means the hadith can be accepted. So what I've done here is I've collected books which deal with biographies, famous books in history, and it gives students a better understanding, especially students who want to go into studies of specialization in hadith, in understanding where they can find out about Sahaba and whether a person was a Sahabi or not. So here goes then. So this is a timeline I've made, and the timeline basically goes from 0, which represents the Hijrah when it started, and then it goes all the way till in today's times, 1400s. And so here we go. So the first book that we have on the list is, well, there's actually quite a few books that were written in history, but I want to focus on the ones that are accessible to us. معرفة الصحابة. So معرفة الصحابة is a book which was written by a scholar in the 430s. His name was Abu Nu'aym al-Asfahani, right? And I'll write the details in and the names in a bit later. So this is the first book. I just want to show you where the books come in history. So 430, about 400 years after the demise of the Prophet ﷺ. And then after that, we have another book in the same century that was written by another scholar whose name was Al-Imam Ibn Abdul Barr, known as, the book was called Al-Isti'ab fi Ma'rifati al-Ashab. Al-Isti'ab fi Ma'rifati al-Ashab. 463 he passed away in. So this is another book in that century, and this was in Spain. And then you have about a century later, you have another book written by Imam Ibn al-Jawzi. So I'm trying to fit all of this in, so you can actually kind of view it from like a bird's eye view. So تلقيح فهوم الأثر. تلقيح فهوم الأثر. Okay, let me just try and write this in. So تلقيح فهوم الأثر في عيون فهوم أهل الأثر في عيون التاريخ والسير. So 597 he passes away. So he's a famous scholar, Imam Ibn al-Jawzi, and Imam al-Jawzi has written many books. And this book, I'm going to be talking a bit more about it in a bit. I just want to tell you that this is a book which is generally a historic book, but there is a section on there about Sahaba. Okay, about another century later, you get another scholar by the name of Imam Ibn al-Athir. So Ibn al-Athir is a very famous scholar. He writes a book called Usdul Ghaba. Ust is a plural of Asad, the lions of the jungle. So Usdul Ghaba, 630, he passes away. There's 3 famous Ibn al-Athirs. They were all 3 brothers, and they specialize in different areas. So this is Al-Imam Ibn al-Athir, who used to specialize in history, and I'll talk a bit more about that in a bit. And then you have, after that, about 100 years later or so, Al-Imam al-Dhahabi comes along, and he writes Tajreed Asma al-Sahaba. Tajreed Asma al-Sahaba. Okay, and he passes away in 748 after Hijrah. Right, so we're getting closer towards our time now. And finally, one more book. This is written by Al-Imam Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani. Al-Imam Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani. It's known as Al-Isaba fi Tamyiz al-Sahaba. Isaba fi Tamyiz al-Sahaba. So this is one of the latest books that has been written. And he died in 852. So these are the books which I'm going to be talking about today. معرفة الصحابة was written by Abu Nu'aym al-Asfahani. Abu Nu'aym al-Asfahani. الاستيعاب was written by Imam Ibn Abd al-Barr. تلقيح was written by Imam Ibn al-Jawzi. Usd al-Ghaba was written by Imam Ibn al-Athir. And he was 630. And Tajreed Asma al-Sahaba was written by Imam Zahabi, famous scholar of Hadith. And finally, Athir was written by Imam Ibn al-Hajar. Al-Imam Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani. Okay, so this is a bit about each book now. So Abu Nu'aym al-Asfahani's book, معرفة الصحابة. There were a few other books that were written at that time as well by Imam Ibn Manda. He also had معرفة الصحابة. However, we don't seem to have a printed version of that. I haven't found a printed version. Manuscripts are available. This book is in 7 volumes, معرفة الصحابة, in 7 volumes, written by Abu Nu'aym al-Asfahani. And this book is a very, very a dense book, very detailed book. Here's an image of it, معرفة الصحابة. And here's basically a bit of how the book kind of works. Okay, so let's go to the Fahrist then. The Fahrist is the contents page of books. So, whenever you want to read about a book, always try and go to the contents page. Usually the contents pages are at the end of classical books. Modern books may put the contents page at the beginning, but normally you'll find the contents page at the end of the book. So he kind of goes through the names alphabetically, starts off with prominent Sahaba, and he talks about them a little bit. So I just want to show you over here. So for example, like he starts off with Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, and then he goes into Umar radiallahu anhu, he goes to Uthman, he goes to 10 Sahaba, Ashra Mubashara, okay, Abu al-Jarrah, and then he goes into the general Sahaba, rest of the Sahaba alphabetically. You can see here he has Ibrahim, and Sahaba names starting with Ibrahim, Sahaba names starting with Ahmad, Sahaba's names starting with Ubay, Usama, Anas, Unais, Aslam. So you might have only heard of one Sahabi with the name Anas, but there may be multiple. Okay, so that's how it goes. And at the end he has a section on nicknames. So I'll put a link in the description, inshallah. So the next book, Ibn Abd al-Barr's book, you can get this in 4 volumes. It's again, it's like basically an index going alphabetically. Originally, it was written in the alphabetic order according to the Arabs living in Spain, or the Muslims in Spain. 3,500 Sahaba are mentioned in that book. So here's an example of the book. So you can see قال أبو عمر يوسف بن عبد الله بن محمد بن عبد البر النمري الفقيه الأندلسي. So he starts. So this is introduction. Then he goes on. So let's have a look at some of the pages of this. Then so we go to look at I'm going to try to look at some of the books contents pages if I can, and otherwise I'll just. So here you can see starts off. So this is a bit interesting because he starts off here with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was not a Sahabi, but he starts off with the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Talks about his battles, his wives, talks about the virtues and his offspring. And then he starts off, after 50 pages, starts off with the alphabetical order, names of the Sahaba. You can see all the Usamas, all the Anases, all the Bishr. Yeah, I'm going a bit fast here, but you can pause it and you can check it out for yourself. And so, you've got like over here Khalids, all the Khalids. Yeah, so they usually used to mention the men's names first, and then later on would mention the women's names. Okay, so this is all that section there. I'll try to see if I can get to the section on the women as well, so you can see the various names. So here's the nicknames. Yeah, section of the Abus. So when a man has a nickname, they say Abu something, and the woman they have Ummi. Okay, so you have the nicknames there. And here's the female names. So you got Rumaysa, you got Rawda, you got Rayhana, Rayta, you got Zainab, all the Zainabs. Yeah, so many that are written there, and it's very interesting to learn about them as well and what they achieved. And so here he's lots and lots of names. You can see, you can go through all of them. I'm just trying to whiz through them. So you got like over here Atika binti Abdul Muttalib, the auntie of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You got Safiya binti Abdul Muttalib, who was also an auntie of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Safiya binti Abi Ubaid Thaqafi, Safiya binti Mahmiya, Safiya Khadim al-Nabi, Safiya Imrat min Sahaba, Safiya Imra. So you got various different ones over there as well. So if you go through this, you'll find it interesting. Generally, people don't read these books cover to cover. They use them as reference books. Okay, let's move on to the next one then. So the next book is a book by Al-Imam Ibn Jawzi. Now I should have put a green line under each name, so at least you guys can follow which book I'm talking about. This book is in one volume. It's a history book basically. It's different from the previous ones. It's not really kind of index reference book. It's more like you read it cover to cover. It's very, very interesting book. It's got lots and lots of facts about the Sahaba in there, and different aspects of their lives in there as well. And let me just show you guys a bit about this. So the book is mainly a historic kind of book. It's got like different things about history in there, Sahaba's time, but it's got a section on Sahaba. So some of the scholars have mentioned it amongst one of the books of biographies. Okay, so let me show you. This is تلقيح فهوم أهل الأثر في عيون التاريخ والسير. Okay, by Al-Imam Ibn al-Jawzi, 597. So this is basically the index. If you look at the index, ذكر أول المخلوقات, it starts off with first creation, ذكر خلق آدم, creation of Adam, عدد الأنبياء, number of prophets, the order of the senior prophets, between the prophets, difference between أنبياء or prophets, names, ومن خلق من أنبياء مختونا, those prophets were born circumcised. So he's got lots of facts inside of there. And then he goes to the Prophet ﷺ, talks about him, and then talks about many of his features of his life as well. His children, his wives, his those of his slaves that he had, servants. Okay, he's got like, even got like names of the manayih, liqah, animals that he had as well, the names that he gave them, his swords, bows, spears, the names that he gave them. He would give names to things as well. So this is interesting. You can learn about more about this as well. Ibn al-Jawzi is known for, he's like an encyclopedia. Just mentions so many different things. So as you can see, going through this book, you can see lots of facts, talking about the Sahaba, attributes of Abu Bakr, of Umar. It's a very, very interesting book. So you can go through it. Very, very interesting facts, pieces of information. Maybe you want to give a talk, maybe you want to write an article, maybe you just want to quote Ibn al-Jawzi on certain things. So then he has a section on the alphabetical order of names of companions. This is the section I'm talking about, of the companions. Okay, this alphabetical order. And then he has like جميع النساء اللواتي لهن صحبة, names of those women who were companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he's got that section there as well. And he's got عدد الأحاديث المروية, the number of hadith that are narrated, those Sahaba who narrated hadith in the thousands, those Sahaba who narrated in the hundreds, those Sahaba in the tens, etc., etc. So this is also very interesting as well. Sections on these as well. Those who narrated from the Sahabiyat, those men who narrated from the women, who learned from the women, those teachers. So he's got that section in there as well. I actually now want to go and read this book again, because of the amazing information that he's written in there. So he's mentioned also in Afrad Bukhari min al-Nisa section that Imam Bukhari's mentioned about the women of the Sahaba in his book as well. Those who migrated. So you can see so many things I just want to show you guys. Those who were martyred in Uhud, those who were martyred in Badr, those who were martyred in other battles, etc., etc. Yeah, as you can see, if you understand Arabic, you're a lucky person. And if you don't understand Arabic, then you're going to be in a bit of trouble. And this is also another section the first dhikr al-awail, the first ever things that happened in the time of the Prophet sallam. Yeah, the first person who threw a shot a bow and arrow. You have that in there. Okay, so anyway, let's move on very swiftly then to the next part. So these kind of books, actually, so I'll mention one thing. These kind of books, a lot of people are unaware of what scholars have written in the past. So when you're unaware of what scholars have written, what tends to happen is that you don't really appreciate the academic works that they've done. Anyway, so next, Usdul Ghaba. Okay, so Usdul Ghaba, this is another book, and this is, like I said, written by Al-Imam Ibn Al-Athir, 8-volume book that is written. Usdul Ghaba, one thing you should remember, his name is Abu Hasan Ali ibn Muhammad Al-Jazari. Okay, so 7,554 Sahaba he's mentioned in this book, so a lot of Sahaba, big lions, jungle. But he's taken them from various books that were written in the past. So he's taken them from books like the book معرفة Sahaba by Ibn Manda. He's taken them from books like the one we mentioned earlier, Abu Nu'aym's book. He's taken them from Al-Imam Ibn Abdul Barr's book as well. Yeah, he hasn't left that. He's taken from there as well. He's taken also from another book which I didn't mention, which is Abu Musa al-Madini's. So this is Abu Musa al-Madini, not Ali al-Madini, but this is Abu Musa al-Madini, he's a 5th century scholar. And he's also taken from other kind of smaller books or other books that I haven't mentioned. The books, again, listed like normal in alphabetical order. However, the thing about this book, what you have to be aware of is that some people who are not Sahaba are actually quoted as being Sahaba in this book. So, like when I talk about Isaba actually corrects some of the things that he has mentioned. So some of the people that he mentioned as Sahaba, they're not really Sahaba, they were Tabi'in. But he's made a little mistake here, according to Imam Hajar. So here's a part of the book, Faharis. This book, like I said, is in 8 volumes. It's an 8-volume, very, very big book. One volume is dedicated purely to contents. Here, contents, just one pure volume. That's how much information there is in this book. So the contents pages usually cover all the ayats and the ahadith and the sayings and the poems and the names. Yeah, so this is a very interesting book that you can go through and check out for yourselves. Okay, next, 2 more left. So Al-Dhahabi. So Imam Al-Dhahabi, a very, very famous scholar, an authority in the science of hadith. So he has written a book as well, Tajreed Asma Sahaba. It's in 2 volumes, this book is. So the book is in 2 volumes. It's a bit shorter than other books. What he's done basically is he's gone and he's taken Ibn Athir's book, right? He's taken Ibn Athir's book, which is, the Usdul Ghaba, and then he's gone and summarized it, basically, and then he's added other things from other books. Yeah, so he's really sieved through so many books to add to this book. So he's added from, let's say, Tarikh Dimashq, from Tarikh Dimashq. It's a very voluminous book. He's gone through that. He's found Sahaba that I mentioned in there. He's added them in. He's gone through Tarikh Hims, the history of Hims, and he's gone through Musnad Imam Ahmad, because Musnad Ahmad is written in order of the names of the Sahaba as well. So Sahaba that he's mentioned and Ibn Athir's missed out, he's added them into it. Musnad Baqi bin Makhlad. So Baqi bin Makhlad was from Spain, so he had a Musnad as well. So he's taken the names that he's got as well, who's a student of Imam Ahmad as well. He's gone and taken footnotes of Isti'ab, Hawashi Isti'ab, and he's added from there as well. And there's other books, Tabaqat bin Sa'ad as well, which is one of the earliest books, which I didn't mention because it's not really dedicated to Sahaba, but he's taken from Tabaqat bin Sa'ad as well. And finally, he's taken from Ibn Sayyid al-Nas's Shu'ara al-Sahaba, the poets of the Sahaba. Again, in here, he's mentioned many people as being Sahaba who Imam Ibn Athir has missed out. So, excellent. 8 different books he's taken from to compile this one book of his. Very interesting. So, again, when you read these books, you have to appreciate who is writing them, right? So, sometimes when you look at a book, if an expert is writing them, then you're going to be expecting very high quality research, very high quality academic writing. And if it's someone who's not very famous, someone who's not very well read up or researched in the science, then the book will reflect. So like I said, the book is a summary of Ibn Athir's book. That's the main thing, and the rest are just used as adding on to the original book. So Tajreed Asma' Sahaba, this is the book. You can see Imam al-Dhahabi. So let's just flick through this. This is an online version as well. So these are all online versions I'm showing you guys. So this is how he writes the names. You got like, if you can see, you got like a number, and then you can see the number, this number, and then he's got a name of a Hamza bin Nu'man al-Udhari. أقطعه النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من وادي القرى. The Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم, he gave him a section, a portion of Wadi al-Qura. And he has an S there, scene there rather, or S scene. So S scene, I'm going to mention in a bit. We'll go back to the beginning of the book and find out the key, what these words signify. And then he's got حظظ bin Shurayq bin Ghanim al-Qurashi al-Adawi توفي بطاعون, he died in the ta'un, in the epidemic or the plague of Amwas. ولم يذكر, we didn't mention him. So etc. etc. You can go through these names. It's a very interesting little facts he has about Sahaba. And that kind of gives you an understanding of who was there and who was not there. Okay, so these are names. You can go through them, you can pause it. You can even download it. It'll be in the description, inshallah, if you're interested. Okay, so these are, again, names in alphabetical order. And later on, the scholars or the publishers have come and they've actually added numbers to the names as well. So, okay, so let's look at this here. So over here, you can see the dal, right, represents إذا كان في كتاب ابن مندة. The عين إذا كان في كتاب نعيم. The ba إذا كان في كتاب ابن عبد البر. And the sin إذا كان في كتاب أبي موسى المديني. Yeah, so he says, I've added many other Sahaba from تاريخ الصحابة الذين نزلوا حمص, who were in Dimashq and other places, cities. So he's really thoroughly gone through all of these. And I'm sure if there was someone today, they can even find and go through books and research and find others as well. Okay, so finally, Ibn Hajar, Imam Ibn Hajar, famous scholar, he's written a book. Now it's been published in 16 volumes today. 16 volumes, I'll show you in a bit. So he has mentioned the Sahaba in a different order. So he's mentioned them, first of all, those who are 100% who were Sahaba. Yeah, so there's no difference of opinion. They were 100%, they were Sahaba. Then he goes into those of the children, those companions who were children when the Prophet ﷺ passed away under the age of puberty. Then he mentions about the Mukhadrams, those people who were at the time of the Prophet ﷺ but did not get to meet him. And in these books, remember, they tell you the definition of what a Sahabi is as well. So that's a Mukhadram. And then he also makes corrections to previous books as well. So this is important to remember because previous books may have made errors. And so he's gone through, he's done a thorough research, and he's found where errors have been made, and he highlights them, points them out to the reader. Okay, so this is some facts about this book. Let's have a look at the book itself. So Al-Isaba fi Tamyiz al-Sahaba. This is a book by Imam Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani. So this is what it's basically like. If you have a look at something like this, you got like Arbad bin Jubair, yeah, Qila ibn Hamza, Qila. So he mentions, like, some people said his name was Ibn Hamza, some said his name was Ibn Humayr, and he goes Musaghar. This is Musaghar in the diminutive form. Muthaqalan, with a shadda. Muthaqal means with a shadda. Yeah, Humayr. وبهذا الأخير جزم ابن مأكولة. So Ibn Ma'kula has emphasized that it's actually Humayr. Yeah, in other words, it's not Ibn Hamza, it's not Ibn Jubair, it's Ibn Humayr. And sometimes this happens because people who are used to write stuff down in the past may have missed out a dot, or maybe the publishers missed it out. So وأما الأول, as for the first, meaning Ibn Jubair, فرواه ابن مندة. Ibn Manda in his book has mentioned that it was Ibn Jubair من طريق جرير ibn Hazim عن أبي إسحاق ibn Ishaq. So in other words, he has a chain that actually goes back to the early scholars to prove that his name was Ibn Jubair. And Ibn Manda does. وذكر ابن إسحاق في من هاجر. Ibn Ishaq, Muhammad ibn Ishaq, mentions this Sahabi of Arbad as being one of those who migrated to Habasha, to Abyssinia, and to Medina, and those who participated in Badr. So you can see very interesting how the Sahaba are mentioned, and any change in their name or different of opinion of scholars, they were so precise, the scholars were, in mentioning exactly what they researched, exactly what they read up, that they didn't want to make a mistake and attribute to themselves, so they used to reference everything. And this is one of the academic features of the scholars of the past. Okay, so anyway, Arbad bin Makhshi as well. So you've got all these names you can actually go through. Lots of interesting facts. Not everyone's going to be into reading these kind of books, but those who are very, hadith orientated scholars who want to read a lot of research into names of Sahaba, they can actually go into all of this as well. So, here's some facts as well. Artat ibn Ka'b ibn Sharahil ibn Ka'b bin Salaman ibn Amir Harith ibn Sa'ad bin Malik ibn Nakha Rawa ibn Shaheen بإسناد ضعيف من طريق. So he even mentions certain hadith that have been narrated by these particular individuals, even though they're da'if, he still mentions them. كان من أجمل أهل زمانهما, he was the most beautiful of his time. وأنطقه ودعاهما الإسلام, the Prophet ﷺ, he invited both of these two, him and his brother, to Islam. فأسلم, they accepted Islam. فدعا لهم بخير, he made dua for them of goodness. وكتب لأرطات كتابا وعقد له لواء, so he wrote a letter for him as well, and he gave him flag. Shahid al-Qadisiyya, he was participating in the battle of Qadisiyya, and so forth. Yeah, so there's lots of information that you can find in here, like gems, true gems, which you might not be able to find in other places. So I thought this would be useful to you guys. I thought you guys would benefit from this, and hopefully you can pass forward this on to other people as well, and you can possibly even make a video continuation from this, inshallah, and to help other people as well. So hope you guys enjoyed this. Jazakumullah khair, and subscribe to my channel, give me a like as well if you want. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.